My name is Amelia, and for most of my life, I truly believed that friendship was the safest form of love. The kind that doesn't fade when romance ends. The kind that's supposed to be steady, unconditional, and true. I thought I had that with Chloe. For nearly 10 years, she wasn't just my best friend. She was family. We'd survived everything together. Heartbreaks, bad jobs, messy apartments, late-night takeout runs, and years of secrets that only two people who'd grown up side by side could ever really share. When I got engaged to Daniel last year, Chloe was the second person I told, right after my sister. Lena. She screamed through the phone so loud that I had to pull it away from my ear. Finally. I thought this man would never propose, she said, half laughing, half crying. I remember smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. She sounded genuinely happy for me. Back then, I didn't realize happiness could hide envy so easily. The first few months of wedding planning were a blur of excitement. Chloe immediately volunteered to be my maid of honor. It wasn't even a question. She said it before I had time to think. "Don't even bother asking anyone else," she said. "This is my job." And honestly, I didn't want anyone else. Lena, my sister, was going to be one of the bridesmaids, but she lived in another city. Chloe was local. She knew my taste, my habits, my stress patterns. She even knew my coffee order better than my fiancé did. It made sense that she'd help me plan, but small cracks started showing almost immediately. When I picked the wedding venue, a quiet garden on the cliffs overlooking Willow Bay, Chloe said, "It's cute. Kind of small, though, don't you think? Don't you want something more glamorous? Maybe a ballroom vibe?" I laughed it off the first time. I told her I wasn't looking for glamour. I wanted something intimate, something real. She smiled but didn't say much. Later, she posted a photo on her Instagram story of a lavish wedding she'd attended, captioned, "Now this is how you do it." It stung a little. I tried not to overthink it. As the weeks went by, those little comments multiplied, about my dress, the color theme, even my makeup choices. Every idea I shared, she found a way to make sound small or basic. Champagne tones? Everyone does that, Amelia. Lace? That's kind of outdated. Peonies? Really? They wilt fast. Each time she said something like that, I felt a bit smaller. But she'd follow it up with a laugh and a hug, saying, "I'm just being honest. You know I want your wedding to be perfect." I told myself that was just Chloe's way. Blunt but well-meaning. When we went wedding dress shopping, she was all energy and opinions. I tried on 6 dresses before finding the one. It wasn't extravagant. A soft lace gown that hugged just enough, with delicate floral patterns that caught the light when I moved. I looked in the mirror and, for the first time in months, I felt like a bride. Before I could even say anything, Chloe's reflection appeared behind mine. "It's adorable," she said, her tone hovering somewhere between praise and pity. "Sorta plain though, don't you think?" My heart sank. The bridal consultant shot her a look, but Chloe just smiled and sipped her latte. I stood there, half turning toward her, searching for some sign that she was joking. She wasn't. I remember telling myself not to cry. Not here, not over something so small. I bought the dress that day anyway, because I knew how it made me feel, and I wasn't going to let anyone take that from me. When we got back to my car, Chloe said, "You know, I'm glad you picked that one. It suits your personality. Simple, but sweet." "Thanks, I think," I said, forcing a laugh. She leaned in and grinned. "Don't worry. I'll make sure everything else shines so no one notices how basic the dress is." That should have been the moment I realized something wasn't right. But when someone has been your best friend for nearly a decade, you learn to excuse things, the sarcasm, the competitiveness, the way she always managed to make herself the center of the story. I told myself, she's just stressed. She loves me. She's trying to help. The week before the wedding, she was practically living at my house, helping with last-minute decorations, running errands, triple-checking guest lists. I was grateful, even when she seemed to take over everything. Daniel mentioned once, "It's like she's more excited than you are." I laughed it off, but deep down, something uneasy stirred. 2 days before the wedding, I woke up to a frantic call from my seamstress, Mrs. Kim. She sounded out of breath. "Amelia, Someone came to the shop this morning. She said she was you. She tried to pick up the dress. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. What? That's impossible. I'm at home. She said you needed it early for photos. She even had your full name, but when I asked for the secret pickup phrase, she didn't know it, so I refused to hand it over. My heart was pounding. What did she look like? Mrs. Kim hesitated. Honestly, she looked a lot like your maid of honor. Same hair color, same tattoo on the wrist. I thought it was her sister at first. I went cold all over. When I hung up, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I called Chloe immediately. She answered on the second ring, her voice cheerful. Hey, bride-to-be! What's up? Were you at Mrs. Kim's shop this morning? I asked. There was a pause. Yeah, she said slowly. I just wanted to help. I figured I could pick up your dress early and have it steamed for you as a surprise. Without telling me? Oh, come on, Amelia, don't be paranoid. I was just trying to help. You're so uptight lately. Telling someone you're me and trying to pick up my wedding dress isn't helping, Chloe. It's lying. She laughed. Actually laughed. Wow, you're really taking this the wrong way. I was trying to do something nice. You've been such a stress ball. I thought I'd take one thing off your plate. You're welcome. Don't, I said, my voice cracking. Don't twist this. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then she sighed. You know what? If you're going to accuse me of something shady when I'm bending over backwards to make your day perfect, maybe I shouldn't even be in this wedding. I took a deep breath. You're right. You shouldn't. That's when the screaming started. She called me ungrateful, controlling, jealous of her confidence. Words I'd never thought I'd hear from her. I hung up before she could say more. That night, I cried until my head hurt. Losing a friend, especially the one who's supposed to stand by you at the altar, is a special kind of heartbreak. Lena came over and held me while I told her everything. She's been acting jealous for months, Amy, Lena said softly. You just didn't want to see it. She was right. I didn't want to believe it. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Chloe. I overreacted. I'm sorry. Can we talk before the wedding? I didn't reply. I couldn't. For the next 24 hours, I tried to focus on the positive. On Daniel. On the vows. On the fact that I was about to marry the man I loved. Lena and my bridesmaids filled the silence Chloe had left behind with laughter and calm energy. I thought that was the end of it. But I should have known. Chloe wasn't the type to fade quietly into the background. Because on the morning of my wedding, she came back, and what she did that day is something none of us will ever forget. The morning of my wedding felt like waking up inside a dream I'd been waiting years to live. I remember the soft sound of waves outside my window, the sunlight spilling across the curtains, and my sister Lena humming as she made coffee in the kitchen. For a moment, everything was perfect, calm, warm, full of quiet joy. I'd spent the night at a small coastal cottage we rented near Willow Bay, surrounded by my bridesmaids. It was supposed to be a peaceful start to the biggest day of my life. But as I stared at my reflection in the mirror, a small part of me couldn't stop thinking about Chloe. I kept replaying our last conversation, the anger in her voice, the words she'd thrown at me. I wanted to believe she'd just move on, that maybe she'd stay home, lick her wounds, and let me have my day. But deep down, something told me Chloe wasn't finished. Around 7 a.m., Lena came into my room with a cup of coffee and a soft smile. You okay? She asked, sitting beside me. I think so, I said, though my chest felt tight. I wish things with Chloe hadn't ended like that. Lena frowned. She made her choices, Amy. Don't let her ruin today. You've waited too long for this. I nodded, forcing a smile. You're right. By 9 a.m., the cottage was buzzing with energy. The makeup artist had arrived, the hairstylist was setting up, and soft music played in the background. My bridesmaids were laughing, taking photos, sipping champagne. It finally started to feel real, like nothing could go wrong. Then there was a knock on the door. Lena went to answer it, assuming it was one of the vendors. From my seat in front of the vanity, I couldn't see who it was. I just heard Lena's sharp intake of breath. "What are you doing here?" she said, her voice cold. A familiar voice answered, light, cheerful, and entirely out of place. "Relax, Lena. I just came to drop something off for Amelia." My heart stopped. I turned slowly in my chair, and there she was, Chloe, standing in the doorway like nothing had ever happened. But it wasn't just her presence that froze the room. It was what she was wearing. She was dressed head to toe in white. Not off-white, not beige, pure, bridal white. A long sequined gown that shimmered in the morning light. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. And she was holding a Starbucks cup like this was some casual morning errand. The entire room went silent. For a few seconds, no one spoke. You could have heard the waves crashing outside, the faint hum of the curling iron. Finally, Lena stepped forward, blocking the doorway. "You need to leave." Chloe's smile didn't falter. "Oh, come on. I just wanted to wish Amelia luck and drop off this little gift." She held up a small silver bag like she was offering peace. Lena didn't move. "You were uninvited, Chloe. You shouldn't be here." I stood up, my hands trembling slightly. "It's okay, Lena," I said softly, though I didn't mean it. "Chloe, why are you here? You can't wear white to someone's wedding." She looked genuinely confused, like I'd said something absurd. "It's not that white," she said, glancing down at her dress. "And besides, I didn't know what to wear since you kicked me out of the bridal party. I didn't want to look underdressed." One of my bridesmaids, Tasha, muttered under her breath, "You look like the bride." Chloe ignored her. She walked toward me, heels clicking against the floor. "I came because I didn't want things to end badly between us," she said. "I was hurt, okay? I made a mistake. But I didn't mean to ruin anything. I wanted to be here for you." Her tone was soft, almost rehearsed, the kind of voice she used when she wanted people to feel guilty. I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, staring at her, the friend who once knew everything about me, now standing in my bridal suite, trying to reclaim a space she'd already destroyed. "Chloe," I said finally, "you need to go. Please." Her eyes flickered, her smile tightening. "Wow," she said. "You're really doing this?" "I'm not doing anything. I'm asking for peace. Today isn't about you." For a split second, I saw something flash across her face. Not sadness, not regret, but anger. Deep, sharp anger. Then she laughed, that same brittle laugh she'd used when I confronted her about the dress. "You know what? Fine. But don't come crying to me when everyone says your wedding was boring." She turned on her heel, brushed past Lena, and slammed the door behind her. For a few moments, no one spoke. Then Lena let out a breath and muttered, "Unbelievable." I tried to shake it off. I told myself she was gone, that I could still have my perfect day. But as I sat back down and looked at my reflection again, I couldn't stop shaking. Later, when we got to the venue, everything looked like a dream. The flowers, the candles, the soft sea breeze. It was exactly what I'd imagined. Guests began arriving, music played softly in the background, and for a while, I forgot about Chloe entirely. Until I saw her again. I was standing behind the floral arch with my bridesmaids, waiting for my cue to walk down the aisle. And then, through the crowd, I spotted her. Chloe. She wasn't just attending. She was sitting in the front row, wearing the same sequined white gown, smiling like nothing was wrong. My heart dropped into my stomach. Lena saw her too. She clenched her jaw and whispered, "I'll handle this." Before I could respond, she marched straight over to the seating area. From where I stood, I couldn't hear the full conversation, but I saw enough. Lena leaned down, said something quietly, and Chloe's expression shifted from smug to shocked to furious. A few guests turned to look. Then, before anyone else could react, Lena straightened up, motioned to an usher, and together they escorted Chloe out. The entire ceremony area fell into an awkward hush. I felt a dozen eyes glancing toward the commotion. My chest tightened with humiliation and relief all at once. When Lena came back, she gave me a small nod. "She's gone," she whispered. "For real this time." I wanted to cry. Not because of Chloe, but because I'd almost let her ruin the most beautiful moment of my life. When the music began, and I finally walked down the aisle, I focused only on Daniel. His eyes found mine, steady and warm, and everything else, the chaos, the noise, the betrayal, melted away. The ceremony went perfectly. The vows were emotional, the guests were in tears, and by the time we said "I do," I felt lighter than I had in months. For a few golden hours, everything was perfect again. But perfection doesn't last forever. That night, as the reception wound down and the guests began to leave, Lena pulled me aside, her phone in her hand, her face pale. "You're not going to believe this," she said. "What?" She turned her screen toward me. It was Chloe's Facebook post, public, and already getting attention. Some people can't handle when others shine too bright. Not everyone's happy to see you glow, but that's okay. I still looked stunning today. Underneath, dozens of comments. Some congratulating her. Some asking where she was. A few even tagging me, confused, wondering if we'd made up. My stomach twisted as I scrolled. Someone had commented, "Wait, weren't you wearing a wedding dress at someone else's ceremony?" And Chloe had replied with a winking emoji. Lena shook her head. "She's lost it." I didn't reply. I just handed her the phone back and stared out across the garden, watching the last of the candles flicker in the breeze. The night was quiet now, but inside, I felt something unravel. Because that was the moment I realized Chloe wasn't just trying to ruin my wedding. She wanted to rewrite the story. She wanted to be seen as the one who shined too bright, and she wasn't done yet. Because the next day, she did something even worse. Something that made me realize our friendship hadn't just ended. It had exploded. The morning after the wedding felt like waking up from a dream that had been both beautiful and bruising. Our apartment still smelled faintly of flowers, champagne, and the ocean air that had swept through the reception hall. Ethan slept beside me, his breathing steady, but my mind was already spiraling. The dress hung across the armchair like a ghost of yesterday. The lace that once symbolized joy now carried invisible fingerprints of chaos, Chloe's chaos. I tried not to look at it, but every time I passed it, I felt that knot in my stomach tighten. By mid-morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications stacked like tiny heartbeats of anxiety. At first, I ignored them, assuming they were congratulations from guests who hadn't reached me the night before. But curiosity won. The first message was from Lena. "Do not look at social media until I get to your place." That warning alone told me everything I didn't want to know. I opened Instagram anyway. There she was, Chloe, posting pictures in that sequined white dress as if nothing had happened. "When they dim your light, shine brighter." Her caption burned. The comments were a battlefield. Half the people adored her confidence. The other half were confused. Someone even asked, "Wait, were you the bride?" I dropped the phone onto the bed like it was hot metal. Ethan stirred, blinking awake. "Bad dream?" he murmured. "Something like that," I whispered. He sat up, rubbed my back, and looked at me with that soft steadiness I'd fallen in love with. "Don't let her steal another day from you, Mel." But that was the thing. Chloe had stolen more than a day. She'd stolen a part of my story. Lena arrived an hour later with coffee and that fierce sister energy that always made me feel safer. She scrolled through her phone, showing me screenshots. "People are reposting her stuff. She's acting like she was part of your wedding." I don't even want to fight her online, I said quietly. I just want it to stop. Then tell the truth once and walk away, Lena suggested. Simple, classy, final. So that's what I did. I typed slowly, making sure every word was honest but calm. For those asking, no, the woman in white at my wedding wasn't another bride. She arrived uninvited after being removed from the bridal party. I hope everyone can move on peacefully. I hit post and turned off my phone. It felt like exhaling after holding my breath for weeks. That night, Ethan and I sat on the couch with takeout noodles and a silence that said more than words. He reached over and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. You did the right thing, he said. I'm proud of you, I smiled weakly. Then why do I feel so tired? Because grief doesn't always come after a death. Sometimes it comes after a betrayal. The next few days blurred into one long scroll of comments and whispers. Even though I tried to stay offline, the world kept finding me. Friends texted updates. Coworkers whispered in the office. Apparently, Chloe had deleted her accounts after people called her out, but by then the story had taken on a life of its own. In a small city like Willow Bay, gossip travels faster than tides. One afternoon, I found myself at the cafe we used to frequent together. Our corner table was empty, and for a moment I could almost see her sitting there, laughing, stirring her coffee too long. It hurt in a quiet, nostalgic way, not because I missed her antics, but because I missed the version of her I thought was real. I started journaling that night. It wasn't something I'd done since college, but words felt safer on paper than online. I wrote about the first time we'd met, how we'd bonded over bad dates and borrowed clothes, how she'd held my hand when my father died. There had been goodness once, and that was the part that made the betrayal cut so deep. Writing didn't fix everything, but it organized the chaos inside me. I began to see patterns, the small red flags I'd ignored for years, her backhanded compliments, her need to one-up, the subtle ways she'd made every moment about her. I had mistaken intensity for loyalty. Ethan noticed I was writing again. He never pried. He just brewed tea and left a mug by my desk each night. That small act of kindness grounded me more than any apology from Chloe ever could. By the end of the second week, life began to settle into something resembling normal. The world had moved on to other gossip. The wedding photos came back from the photographer. Beautiful, soft, golden. Not a trace of the chaos in sight. But when I flipped through them, I caught myself searching the edges of every frame, half expecting to see Chloe lurking somewhere in the background. That realization made me close the album. Even when she wasn't there, she still haunted the corners of my mind. Lena convinced me to take a weekend trip with her and Mom to the coast. We walked barefoot along the shoreline, letting the waves erase our footprints as fast as we made them. It was symbolic, I guess, watching the ocean do what I couldn't yet. Wash things clean. That night, we sat around a fire pit. Mom passed me a glass of wine and said, "Honey, friendships sometimes end the same way storms do. Loud, destructive, but necessary to clear the air." I didn't respond right away. Instead, I watched the sparks drift into the sky, wondering if Chloe was somewhere looking at the same stars, feeling even a fraction of this emptiness. By the time we drove home Sunday evening, I felt lighter. Not healed, not yet, but lighter. A week later, an unknown number flashed on my phone. I hesitated before answering. Amelia? The voice was hesitant, familiar. Chloe. My chest tightened. For a second I thought about hanging up, but some instinct told me to listen. "I owe you an apology," she began. I've been in therapy since the wedding. I know I crossed lines. I know I hurt you." Her voice trembled like she was afraid I'd scream, but I didn't. I just listened. She went on about her loneliness, about always feeling like she was living in other people's shadows. How seeing me happy made her panic, like she was disappearing. When she finally paused, I said quietly, "You didn't have to ruin my day to be seen, Chloe." "I know," she whispered. "I'm sorry." There was a long silence between us, filled with years of shared laughter, sleepovers, secrets, and all the cracks that had slowly widened. "I don't hate you," I said at last. "I just can't trust you anymore." I understand, she said. Thank you for at least picking up. After we hung up, I cried. Not angry tears, but the kind that come when something finally settles. Closure doesn't always look like forgiveness. Sometimes it's simply the end of needing answers. That night, Ethan found me sitting on the floor beside the wedding dress. He knelt next to me, brushing away a tear. You okay? I think so, I said. I talked to her, he nodded. Good. I folded the dress carefully, layer by layer, and placed it inside the storage box. It felt symbolic, like putting away the chaos with it. When I closed the lid, a strange calm filled the room. I thought that dress was cursed, I joked weakly. Ethan smiled. Or maybe it's blessed. It survived everything, and so did you. For the first time, I believed him.